And welcome to this presentation. Hello, welcome to this presentation. We are the producers, Chris, Monica, Christian, and Rochelle. We're from Business 330, Section 1, Ethics, Managerial Decision Making, Summer 2014 at the Northern Kentucky University. Some quick facts about the movie The Producers. This was the director's first movie. The producer is Mel Brooks, and it was his very first movie. Brooks also worked on 2 real-life Broadway musical flops. The Producers is banned in Germany. Brooks wanted the original title of the movie to be Springtime for Hitler, but the studio did not approve. The movie takes place in New York. Dishonesty is the cornerstone of this movie. The Producers was remade in 2001 as a Broadway musical, where it won a 2001 Tony Award for Best Musical. Again, in 2005, it was remade as a musical film, starring Matthew Broderick, Nathan Lane, Uma Thurman, and many others. Here's a quick movie summary. It's a film set in the late 1960s that brings together a struggling theatrical producer and an accountant. Max, a theatrical producer, was once considered the top producer on Broadway. Now, he's living in his office, wearing a cardboard belt and scrounging money from wealthy old ladies just to get by. Leo, his accountant, comes over to check on Max's books and tries to talk Max into producing a big hit to recoup all of his losses. Max believes it is too late for that. Jokingly, Leo offers up that if Max were to produce a flop, he could legally keep all the money from the investors. They come together and decide that they want to produce the next Broadway big flop. They conspire to pick the worst play, the worst director, and the worst actor, in their eyes, to guarantee a giant flop. But in the end, it becomes a hit. Some of the cast includes Zara Mostel as Max Bialystock, aka is the producer. Brooks, the director, based Max on a real-life Broadway producer. Next, Gene Wilder as Leo Bloom, the accountant. Gene wrote half of his own monologue for the courtroom scene in the movie. Dick Shawn as LSD, Lorenzo St. Dubuis, otherwise known as the worst actor in the movie. Kenneth Mars is Franz Liebken, author of The Worst Playwright, otherwise known as Springtime for Hitler. And Lee Meredith as Ola, Max's assistant. Ethical theories. Movie related. Honesty, loyalty, and sexism.
Because of all of the fraud and whatnot involved in the movie, there are many ethical theories that apply to this movie. We picked the 3 most prominent ones that we felt were honesty, loyalty, and sexism. These stood out the most to us right off the bat when we discussed the movie. Ethical theory number 1, honesty. Right off the bat, from the opening scenes, Max and Leo were both dishonest. In the first scene, it's Leo and Max in Max's office. Leo, the accountant, came over to go over the books, and Max asked Leo to alter the numbers and to hide money that he had spent elsewhere in the numbers, which is fraud, clearly. Also, once Leo and Max had their scheme going, they sold multiple false ownerships of the production to multiple people. This again is dishonest and fraud. They both lied to multiple people in the process, including the directors, the cast members, and all of the owners of the production. A good resolution to dishonesty would be to come clean and confess to their wrongs. Max and Leo should not have lied, and they need to own up to their mistakes and be honest from here forward. The money should definitely be repaid to the debtors, and if they cannot repay the money, there must be another alternative way to right this wrong. They need to be accountable for their actions, such as letting everyone know that they messed up, and this will hopefully help them regain trust in the future. If not, then the people have good reason not to trust them, but they can correct their wrongs.
Ethical theory number 2 is loyalty. Bialystok and Bloom had an obligation of their loyalty to their investors. When the investors trusted them with their money, they expected them to use it responsibly. They violated this trust by selling false shares of the show and attempting to create a flop. The resolution for loyalty would be to reimburse all of the investors, offer a sincere apology, and regain their trust by following through and acting different in the future. The third ethical theory involved in the movie is sexism. There is a significant amount of female exploitation in The Producers. The way in which Bialystok collected money from his investors was by flirting, dating, and fooling around with little old ladies, and then taking their money. If the roles were reversed, Bialystok being a female and selling herself for money, this would be considered prostitution and no longer be viewed as a humoristic aspect of the plot. Another instance of sexism in The Producers was the sexual harassment that Ula experienced as Max's new assistant. There was a language barrier which caused a major communication gap, and the only phrase that Max used with her was work. Ula would instantly turn on music, strip down into skimpy clothing, and dance around the office as the men enjoyed the entertainment. According to the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, it would be difficult to determine if Ula's situation is considered sexual harassment because Bialystok never straightforwardly asked for sexual favors or threatened her job based on her sex and actions. Based on a language barrier, the interpretation of what Ula considered her dancing to be, her job title, and contract legalities, there would have to be a more in-depth analysis of whether or not her treatment in the workplace is considered to be sexual harassment. Nonetheless, hiring her as an assistant and having her do tasks which are not typical assistant duties is considered unethical, especially since he is taking advantage of a language barrier. The resolution of the issue of sexism in the movie is as follows. The investors are to be given their money back, and Mr. Bialystok needs to fully explain what their money was actually going towards and the truth behind his scheme. Unfortunately, you cannot undo treating somebody a certain way, but Bialystok has the opportunity to be honest. Ula is to be spoken to and explained that she is being wronged in her job title as an assistant. They are to pay her what she legally deserves and release her from the position.
Ethical theories, non-movie related. The three we chose: cheating, particularly in sports, integrity, and humanity. The first one I would be discussing is cheating in sports. Cheating is defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary as to break a rule or a law, usually to gain an advantage at something, to take something from someone by lying or breaking a rule, to prevent someone from having something that he or she deserves or was expecting to get. Over the years, sports have been corrupted by scandals throughout Throughout history, sports have been corrupted by scandals throughout history, from teams and coaches cheating and fixing matches to athletes taking the competition too far or using performance-enhancing drugs. To become a professional athlete takes drive, dedication, and a strong will to succeed. Some of the same traits that go into making a great athlete are the same traits that can make them take it too far. Athletes are taking performance-enhancing drugs at an all-time level, and they will go to any extent to remain competitive in their respective sports. Despite the various sports rules and drug testing, athletes are finding new and better ways to get around the rules, allowing it to continue. The research regarding cheating in sports came from My Prior Knowledge and the article titled Ethics in Sports, an article written by Jones and Bartlett Learning. Some occurrences of cheating in sports. Major League Baseball. You got Pete Rose, who was betting on baseball, betting on the Reds. Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, and many others using steroids to gain an advantage and hit monster home runs. Pitchers doctoring a baseball to throw off the hitter, from pine tar to sunscreen to whatever they can find to throw off that hitter. In the NBA, we got teams losing on purpose in order to gain a better position in the upcoming draft to get that next big hit. You got referees fixing the games and betting on the games. To college, NCAA, college athletes getting paid to play. They're already getting a 4-year scholarship in most cases. Now you got them getting paid. You got colleges, such as North Carolina, making up classes for their athletes so they can get an easy A and continue playing sports and representing North Carolina. About Reggie Bush, who was receiving money and gifts from sports agents while still playing football at the University of Southern Cal. But in the NFL, players taking performance-enhancing drugs on a whole other level, suspension after suspension. Offensive linemen greasing up their arm so others couldn't grab a hold of them. Then there's Spygate with the New England Patriots, where they were recording other teams' practices and coaches to get the upper hand in the game. Then you got the Indianapolis Colts aiding crowd noise to the stadium to gain an advantage, make it hard for the quarterback to yell, or make it hard for the players to hear the quarterback calling the plays. Some other sports occurrences of cheating. You got Lance Armstrong and the doping scandal. There's Mike Tyson biting the ear of Vander Holyfield. Marion Jones using performance-enhancing drugs to gain an advantage in the Olympics. And how about old Rosie Ruiz, who used motorized vehicle to help win the Boston Marathon? Following in the theme with Max and Leo, and with them trying to produce the biggest flop to gain a financial advantage, a new age way of cheating in sports is now to flop to gain an advantage and get calls. Last year, ESPN's SportsCenter program put together 10 of their favorite flops. Take a look. Other ethical theory, integrity. Christian, this is where you'd be reading. I'm going to just kind of just let it go. This is Christian all the way up to the final recommendation.
Final recommendation. For Max and Leo, a final resolution for all of their ethical issues is going to be a tough one to find. Since they have already spent all of their money, they probably don't have enough to reimburse their investors. The two of them can do their best to sell back or return everything that they used their unethically earned money to be able to repay everyone who is at a loss. Also, they should turn around all of the revenue from the show back to the investors. After financially attempting to make everything right, they need to start to gain back trust from people. Sincere apologies are in order. Leo and Max should immediately begin to change how they run their businesses after they get out of jail and build their integrity back.
Discussion questions for you to think about. We've all had jobs that we have absolutely hated or bosses that were just so horrible. Just think about the movie, Horrible Bosses, for example. In the extreme, the three main characters go through just to get rid of their horrible bosses. Now in relation to the producers, we discover Leo Bloom quits his accounting job because of his horrible tyrant boss. What are some of your most hated jobs, and what were some of the most unethical things that you could only imagine of doing to make the workplace better? Number 2, in the movie, Leo is the accountant and Max is the theatrical producer that has the ingenious plan to commit fraud and make millions. Knowing he cannot pull off a scam this large, he tries to coax Leo into join his scheme by befriending him and smoozing him. Have you or someone you know ever been sucked into something unethical because they thought the friend had their best interest at heart? If so, what would you do in the future to prevent this from happening again? Because the women that Bialystok was using were little old ladies, does it make it okay for him to use them for money? If the women were young and attractive, would people be appalled at his actions instead of finding it humorous? Our outside resources are listed below. That is the end of the show. We thank you for your time and hope you enjoyed our presentation.